Well. Welcome to The Frame. Today's going to be a very special episode to me because I get to react to photography hot takes. Not only that, but Reddit photography hot takes. Not only that, but I have 20 of them. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The gear doesn't matter lie is always told by rich generalists. The only people screaming that gear doesn't matter are the ones sitting on $30,000 worth of Phase 1 systems and luxury L-glass. Try executing a high-ticket commercial auto campaign at midnight with a crop sensor kit lens and tell me that gear doesn't matter. Okay, so I gotta agree with only half of this. Okay, I gotta agree with only half of this. And the half that I agree with is the gear doesn't matter lie is always told by rich generalists. Because I do feel like 90% of the people who say gear doesn't matter also don't have a solid niche. Okay, they are swimming around in a bunch of L series lenses and G master lenses, the top of the line bodies, and this and that, and they're saying, yeah, gear doesn't matter, but don't look at me because I don't practice what I preach. So yes, that's probably the only part that I disagree with because yeah, I would prefer to have, L series, phase 1 glass, but again, it's not necessary, like the 28-70 f2 versus the 28-70 2.8. They're about $2,000 away from each other, but they produce pretty much the same, or the 28-70 f2.8 might even have better quality than f2, That might be a hot take right there, but that's beyond the point. But the part that I don't disagree with is the part that I don't agree with is try executing a high-ticket commercial auto campaign at midnight with a crop sensor lens and tell me that gear doesn't matter. So there's two ways I can handle the situation. I understand that most high-ticket commercial campaigns, they got to be shot during a certain time, and most of the time you're under a contract, and most of the time you have no say or anything on the environmental conditions. But you could always do two things. One, notify your contract or notify your client saying, hey, this is a very bad situation, it's going to be very dark. My camera may struggle with, the low lighting, and is there a better way we could do this? All right, that's the first way. But the second way, let's say you already booked this thing. You could always rent, there's Lens Rentals is an amazing company that lets you rent the top of the line gear, top of the line glass, top of the line lighting, and you can get the productions done with Lens Rentals. So I only agree with 50% of that. Okay, this next one is quite amazing. I like this one. Watermarks are just a public announcement of an oversized ego. Nobody's lurking in your DMs trying to steal your oversaturated, poorly composed photo of a lake or a random flower. Dropping a massive cursive text overlay across your image doesn't protect your copyright, or doesn't protect you from copyright. It just ruins an already mediocre frame. Wow. Okay. All right. So I can't say I agree or disagree with this because I feel like we're always there at one certain point. There was a point in time where I was watermarking my images left and right as well, But I genuinely feel like that's also kind of true though. Because thinking about some of the top creators that I know, they don't watermark their images and they're amazing photographers, It's just when I was at the beginning of my photography career, I used to watermark everything. But now that I'm fairly advanced and I'm really good at what I do, there's no watermark in sight. The only time I will take that back. The only time there is a watermark is if my client is proofing their images, and yeah, because if anybody's gonna take images, it's gonna be your clients that already paid, and it's gonna screenshot your images. All right. That's going to be the people you got to worry about taking your images, not no random person on the internet. It's going to be your own clients. Because if you give them a gallery to proof, then 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some screenshots, even if it's unintentional, but still. So I would probably agree with that entire statement. Okay, next. Oh my God, this is actually crazy. Staged TikTok street photography is a clout-hungry hostage situation. Stopping a random stranger, flashing your follower count to bully them into posing and making them perform like a circus monkey for a 7-second reel isn't street photography. It's a desperate plea for algorithmic validation. Okay, wow. I have never seen a behind the scenes of street photography. I genuinely think that 90% of it, or 90% of the videos that you see on social media platforms like TikTok or Instagram and stuff like that, I think they are staged because they're too good to be, just natural, like even when it comes down to like the way people are talking, which I may just be overanalyzing it, but without a single stutter, without like any single slur in words, everything is just pronounced like how it's supposed to. That's way too perfect. Okay, so I do feel like 90% of it is staged. But when you do have that other 10% that this records behind the scenes, like let's say this like abstract, lighting casting from like the light going through a building and someone just casually walks through it. I believe that those are authentic, Now, when it comes down to street photography and the photographers printing it for them, I believe that 90% of that is fake because there is ways you can do it, but I feel like just taking a picture, reaching in your backpack, printing it out, and then going to run chase down the person you just took a photo of, that's very unrealistic, My social anxiety would never, okay? So I would agree with 90% of that statement. Okay, so the next one kind of hits close to home because it's literally something we're teaching in the frame course, which if you don't know already, you can go down to the link in the description. You can go to the frame and join the ecosystem and you can learn about this too. But anyway, natural light photography is just code for I am terrified of flash. Calling yourself a pure natural light artist is almost always a coping mechanism for people who don't understand the inverse square law or how to sync a strobe. Relying on the sun isn't a style, it's a lack of technical training. Wow. Oh my God. All right. I'm not really sure if I can disagree with it because it's literally something that I'm teaching. Like, it's so funny, like word for word, letter for letter. Like we are teaching advanced lighting. All right. We're teaching this inverse square law. We're teaching all of that. And, I can't say I disagree, but I can't say I 100% agree either. Because I gotta admit, some of these photographers out here who just do natural light or who bounce light with a reflector, there's some crazy good pictures. I'm not even gonna lie. Like Hope Taylor. Hope Taylor work is amazing. She is just insane and like her charisma is just insane. Like the way that she can go out with I believe she used the Canon EOS R6 and the 50mm or 85mm 1.2. It's just insane. Like I heavily rely on flash because I love strobe. I just love the way it looks. But there's just a certain way that Hope Taylor, she found her niche and she executes as well. She don't need no extra technical assist from a strobe to do her job proficiently, which I admire her for that, So yeah, I do agree that 90% of people who claim they are natural light artists have never touched a flash before. I struggled from half of that. I never claimed to be a natural light photographer. I just never touched a flash before. And now that I touched a flash, I'm not gonna let it go, Yeah. So yeah, that's that. But if you're interested in learning, advanced lighting placements, strobes, stuff like that, you could definitely find it down below in the link in the description. Join the ecosystem, and we'll literally talk about everything from the inverse square law, which I assume you probably never heard of, to how to even buy a flash, where to get a flash, to what strobe you need, so stuff like that. We teach all that inside of the frame. Whew, wow, that was something. All right, this next hot take is letting shadows be pure black is a lost form. Everyone is so obsessed with maximizing dynamic range, they lift shadows until the image looks flat, gray, or HDR mud. Let a shadow be a shadow. If we can see the dust bunnies in a dark corner of your frame, you killed the mood. Okay, I don't think I read that last part right. If we can see the dust bunnies in the dark corners of your frame, you kill the mood. 100% I agree. I agree. No if and or but about that. You know, I love a deep black in a photo. Even if it's in a shadow or even if it's in like you bump up the contrast, you know. Um, Well, if you know my work is very high end, bold, editorial, very like contrasty work, you know. So I take pride in like having a solid contrast between, you know, light and dark, shapes, colors, all of that. So seeing that someone is letting blacks just be blacks and not trying to make it like this muddy gray, it's nice because it shows a true understanding of real dynamic range. From having the ability to shoot from a literal pitch black to even getting highlights in your frame is just insane. So whoever wrote this, I respect you a lot. Well, if you shoot weddings, headshots, real estates, and sports all on one page, you are a commodity. Generalists are just destined to get undercut by cheaper amateurs on Craigslist. If a client looks at your page and can't tell exactly what your hyper-specific lane is, you cannot charge premium rates. From the way I said this, if you can't tell that I 100% agree with this, then something got to be a little messed up. Generalists are killing photography. I'm gonna say it again. Generalist is killing photography. Okay, if you are shooting everything, if you're shooting babies, if you're shooting babies, newborns, if you're shooting engagements, weddings, real estate, sports, headshots, senior portraits, if you shoot all of that, then there is no way you can break beyond the advanced amateur space you are in, because you cannot command higher rates if you are shooting everything. It's kind of like going to a movie theater to watch YouTube. What's the point of going to a movie theater that's supposed to play movies just to watch short form content such as YouTube? Like, oh my gosh, I 100% agree with this. 100% agree with this, because trust me, once you find your niche, once you get into that ultra specific lane that you're in, you don't want to go back. There is like you literally reflect on where you were a couple years back and be like, how did I do that? I was shooting $200 sessions. How did I not get burnt out by now? And then once you get to that new high in your career, there is essentially nothing that you can do to essentially mess that up. Like, you are set. Once you find your hyper specific lane, you can charge premium rates. Amen, brother. Amen. All right. After that little tangent, the Canon RF 28-70 f2 is a toxic trap. Yes, it makes every gearhead's mouth water. Yes, it's a mechanical miracle, but it's also 3 pounds, a front-heavy wrist killer that robs you from the true depth, separation, and a low-light vacuum of an actual f1.2 prime. I'm sorry, but I simply just cannot agree to this. The 2870 is such an amazing lens. Oh my gosh. I would trade everything in the world for that. I would be content with 2 lenses, the 85mm 1.2 and the 28-70 f2. Okay, I would trade everything in the world for that lens, alright? There is literally nothing that could stop me from using it. I don't care if it weighed 10 pounds. I don't care if it weighed 21 pounds, you know? I don't care if it cost $100,000. Somehow that lens would be mine, okay? I'm not trying to... Okay, I shoot with Canon, all right? I love Canon to death. I'm not trying to glaze them or anything, but just the 28-70 is just such a mechanical miracle, as the person said, that I just simply can't give it up, you know? The 28-70 is a type of lens that makes you buy an extra body just to keep it on, just to keep the 28-70 on the extra body. All right, this is the 8th hot take. Lightroom presets are erasing human creativity. If your entire visual identity is built on a $35 orange and teal preset packet you bought from a travel influencer, you are not an artist. You are just a factory line assembly worker churning out identical corporate aesthetic slop. Yes, 1010% yes. Okay, I hate Lightroom presets. I hate any presets. I would just rather 100% of my work be just authentic, you know? Like I put in the time, I put in the effort to pretty much, you know, make this what it is today. It's kind of like a world-renowned painter painting with a stencil, you know, or drawing an outline with a stencil. Like, what's the point, you know? Um, I never been a Lightroom preset person. I hate presets, but the only stipulation to that rule is if I make the preset myself. All right. So if I go into Lightroom and I find out my like identical shooting pattern, like I would typically shoot like a little overexposed, you know, I can go in and create a preset based off of that, you know. So just keeping that in mind. I've never been a preset person unless it's my own presets. So yeah, that's that. Okay, just reading through this next one, I don't really agree with. I think it hits a little too close to home, but you know, let's just read it anyway. Most photography workshops are just a high-ticket, multi-level marketing scheme. You are paying thousands of dollars to learn business. You're paying to shoot a model that someone else styled, using lighting that someone else set up, just to look exactly like the instructors. This might feel like the biggest self-plug ever. I gotta agree with like 10% of this. And the 10% I agree with is shooting to look like your instructor. Okay, but okay, I'm actually going to change it to 5% because I got a good reason why I drop it. But anyway, it really depends on what type of like marketing scheme, not marketing scheme, what type of workshop you're doing, okay? Yes, I do understand the $1,000 you are going to take or you're going to spend to, you know, learn business, and the $1,000 is going to take to photograph a model that someone else already styled, and to use lighting that someone else already set up. I do understand that, but looking at a course like The Frame, it is more than that. All right, I'm not even trying to plug The Frame. I'm just being so real. So yes, The Frame does have exactly what he's talking about, or she's talking about. The $1,000 to learn business, to learn how to shoot, and to learn lighting. Okay, but the way that The Frame teaches it is not just like, yo, shoot and burn. Okay, it's not like here's everything that I do. Go copy and paste. Okay, The Frame teaches you pretty much the basics and the advanced levels. So like, yes, I can show you the way I do it, but you're also going to learn the advanced level. So if you figure out a way that is more efficient than the way that the instructor taught you, then okay, then go do it your own way. The Frame pretty much, it does give you a copy and paste, but also sets you up so where you can shoot the way you want to shoot. Okay, but I do understand some of the workshops that shoot exactly like their instructor. But anyway, back to my earlier point where I dropped it down to 5%, is because the reason why I did that is because 90% of workshops, you're paying that much money to go photograph like the person you're paying it to. You know, why would you pay thousands of dollars to someone whose work you don't even enjoy? You want to shoot like that person because you clearly are financially invested into that person, you know? So yeah, the entire goal is to shoot like the instructor because you put in the money to the instructor to shoot just like them. So I don't know, it's complicated, you know. Anyway, shooting a portrait at 24mm wide should be a finable offense. Unless you are intentionally trying to give a client a giant, disproportionate cartoon nose, a bulged forehead, and a tiny pinhead, step back and use a proper 85 or 105 compression tool. Stop abusing wide glass on human anatomy. It's actually quite funny because I literally filmed what was it? It's the frame episode 1.2.2 where we're talking about like the lens mechanics, and we literally talked exactly about this. And yes, shooting at 24mm wide should be a finable offense. First of all, if I'm a client, I don't want to go to the photographer and my nose look huge, I don't want my forehead to look any bigger than it already is, okay? I don't want that. I want to look professional. So yes, if I'm going to a photographer, I want them to use at least an 85 millimeter. I'm okay with the 50 millimeter too, but just please don't shoot your client at a wide frame, at a wide zoom length or the wide focal range, because if you do, one of us isn't going to be satisfied, and I 100% promise you that the client is not going to be satisfied. So yeah. All right, so this next one, which actually, okay, let me preface you with this. I am not hand choosing these hot takes, because these are just the top 20 that I found on Reddit. And yeah, it also talks a lot about what I'm teaching in this course, okay? AI calling and editing software like Evoto isn't cheating, it's mandatory. If you are still manually clicking away every skin blemish, stray hair, and background distraction one by one in 2026, you don't love the art form. You just hate making profit. Your time is worth more than just manually pixel pushing. I 100% agree. I 110% agree, because we literally talk about this in the business automation course in the frame. All right. We talk about how to make your business run on autopilot, how to increase your hourly rate. That's exactly what we talked about in the frame. So the fact that other people are agreeing with the curriculum that we're already teaching, it's just a validation tool at this point. But yes, I 100% agree. I used to trade my time. Well, I used to trade my money for time, or my hours for money. Okay. I was manually going, let me tell you what JPhotos was like back in the day. All right. So we used to do a photo shoot. I would take the SD card out of my iPad. I would put it into the SD card reader. Hold up. Let me run that back. Back in JPhotos back in the old days, I used to take the SD card out of my camera, put it in the back of my iPad, put it in the SD card reader, and my mom pad, and sit there with my client after the photo shoot. My mom would write down every single name, and we name the package, however many pictures that came in the package. I like this image. That was the whole process. Now, literally, I go to a shoot, automated email sends them, hey, this is what's happening next. I send them their iconic file, which is their proof gallery, and then I pretty much AI edit all the pictures, put it into the PicTime gallery, and send it off. They pick the ones they want. I automatically get a notification whenever they want it, whenever they finish, and then it automatically takes the photos that they want, put it into Evoto, and I apply my portrait preset export. Done. I'm only doing 3 things, okay? 1, putting the images on my computer. 2, global edits. And 3, sending the last final email. I bought back, my hourly rate just increased by so much just because of the simple things that I just automated. So first of all, if you want your life to be like that, again, down in the description below, you have a link to join the Frame ecosystem, and I promise you, you will feel so much better afterwards. But again, I 100% agree with that. And I'm sorry for the tangent that I went on about my old process. I know, it was a lot, because I did it every time. All right, so for this next one. Film photography doesn't make your bad photos deep. Shooting a poorly composed, out-of-focus image on a Portra 400 doesn't make it a nostalgic masterpiece. It just makes it an expensive, poorly composed, out-of-focus mistake. Film handles colors beautifully, but it can't fix the lack of vision. Oh wow, all right. I can't really say I agree or disagree. I guess I'm gonna just agree with this one, because back to what we were saying earlier, how like gear doesn't matter, that hot topic. This one kind of bounced back off of it, because yeah, you can have like the best gear in the world and still take a bad photo. You can take the worst photo in the world on the most expensive gear. You can take a terrible photo on film and no, it will not look nostalgic. It will just still look even worse now that it's actually printed. So yeah, I agree with that. 110% actually. All right, this next one's going to be quite a heavy hitter. The world has a massive oversupply of mediocre portrait photographers. The barrier to entry is so low that anyone with a Costco camera bundle thinks that they can charge $500 for headshots. Master your lighting geometry, learn spatial mechanics, and practice on your friends before you dare take a client's money. Yes. There is literally no other way I I couldn't have said it better myself. You know, yes, yet again, the frame does teach lighting geometry, inside of it. So you don't have to, if you feel like you're in the mediocre photographer, or if you feel like you're in the mediocre portrait photographer, you don't have to be no more. The fact that you're watching this podcast and the fact that you've been watching it this long proves to me that you are ready for this. You know, you're ready to take on the contents and course material that the frame has to offer. We literally teach lighting geometry. We literally have a course about, how a wider focal range can affect the way that someone perceives your images and how it can distort faces. So I'm gonna 110% agree with this. There's a lot of mediocre photographers, and there's a lot of photographers who, it goes both ways. There's a lot of photographers who aren't charging what they're worth, and there's a lot of photographers who are overcharging based off of their portfolio. So I 110% agree with what this person had to say. Focus stacking landscapes usually look like hyperreal garbage. It strips away the natural atmospheric depth that makes the real world beautiful. When the blade of grass at my feet is just as sharp as the mountain peak 10 miles away, it doesn't look epic. It looked like a rendering error in a video game. Okay, so for this one, I might actually gotta disagree, because I got a little soft spot for like those, the high contrast, very, very deep focused landscape images, because I just think they look great. I love seeing every bit and piece of the landscape, because that's just what is there, which I do understand. You gotta have like some bokeh, just a little bit, but still, I think the point still remains. I just love those extremely deep focused images. So that gotta be a personal preference, if anything. Well, if anything. This is another part of the curriculum. Actually, this is part of our business automation curriculum. If you edit until 3 a.m., you have a broken business model, not a time problem. Blaming your lack of sleep on a heavy workload is a lie. You're burning out because you haven't automated your CRM, you don't use shortcuts, you refuse to outsource, and you undercharge for your time. You know what? Editor, can you do me a favor and can you add some applause? So yes, I 100% agree with this. 110% agree with this. So remember that rant I went on earlier? Yeah, that rant. This is pretty much where I am today. Everything is automated, and I automated everything to the point where it doesn't feel disconnected from an actual human, because there's still 2 touch points in my business where we actually get on the phone and talk. Just 90% of the emails are automated, So that just buys back so much time, because it's not like, it's kind of like buying a faster computer. Let's just I'm gonna reference it to Apple. You have an M3 MacBook Pro and you buy an M5 MacBook Pro. The difference isn't going to be necessarily noticeable immediately, but over time it will be. Like the 2 seconds you save on exporting the photo, the 3 seconds you save on loading AI faster, stuff like that. That all matters, and it all adds up eventually. So the time you spend the time you save writing emails, the time you save from scheduling other emails to send, the times you save from just about doing anything, all adds up to hours on hours and hours. So I definitely agree with that 110%. So yeah. This next one, I kind of like this. Your portfolio is a mess because you are emotionally attached to average frames. A premium portfolio should be 10, maybe 15 absolute knockouts. If you include a mediocre photo just because the weather was bad that day and it was hard to get, you are dragging your brand authority into the gutter. Literally, a couple podcasts ago, I was talking about brand authority. This is insane. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. Me, I don't really, so it's kind of weird for me. I do have a portfolio, but the thing about it is my portfolio is baked into my client gallery. So like on each client gallery, there's only 5 pictures that I manually select to be part of the portfolio. So you can literally go through like my portfolio right now and see, this client gallery. You press on it, only see 5 knockouts. Go to that client gallery, you only see 5 knockouts of those. So I totally get the premium positioning, but yeah, you really got to figure out a way to get unattached from your images, because if you are attached to a mediocre shot, not only are you bringing yourself down, you're bringing your business down too. So, yeah. Over-tethering completely kills the human element of a shoot. Keeping a client or art director glued to a 32-inch production monitor live on a set turns an organic, creative session into a rigid, micromanaged corporate boardroom meeting. Break the tether occasionally and actually look at your subjects. I just disagree with this entire thing, So my tethering setup is quite different. So as you see with 90% of my work, it is out in the field, okay? I do have this thing called a production wagon, which is literally self-explanatory. It's a wagon. And on the wagon, there's this iPad clamp and a small rig arm and a DJI Osmo 6. So it pretty much automatically creates behind the scenes for me. And on that iPad clamp, I keep an iPad there and it's wirelessly tethered to my camera, so I can take a picture and it will go to my iPad and we could view it live. So it's mainly for when I'm shooting senior portraits. I can have the parents glued to the screen and not the senior themselves, but I don't really focus on like the micromanagement. Never really affected me much, I love getting live feedback back from my clients, especially if it's dealing with their pictures. So I love tethering, having the people see their images live. It gives them a sense of direction, I feel like it's super important to show your models or your clients what they look like, because they're over here moving their arms every way, which way and about, and they don't know what they look like. So showing them what they look like definitely is a plus. So yeah, I love tethering. There's nothing that can break my wireless tether, literally. Okay, 18th hot take. The 50mm lens is the safest, most boring focal length in existence. It mimics human vision so perfectly that it injects zero native drama or spatial manipulation into the frame. It's honest, it's safe, and it's completely devoid of geometric character. It's like the vanilla ice cream of glass. I see where they're coming from, but the 50mm and I, we're attached. We're bros. We're like each other's first love, So yeah, I just love the look of a 50mm. You can't go wrong with a 50mm, clearly. So why would you change what's not broken, I get it. It can be boring sometimes, and yeah, it's dope to switch it up to 85 or maybe even a 105, But yeah, I don't 100% disagree, but I don't 100% agree, So yeah. For any Redditors out there, this one's definitely gonna make them mad. Most people arguing on the camera subreddit aren't actually photographers. They are gear collectors. They spend 95% of their day pixel peeping charts, taking pictures of their retail boxes their cameras came in, and holding up their arms for the finally arrived posts. But they haven't produced a meaningful image in years. So I can't really agree or disagree with this one because I'm not really on Reddit. I'm actually not on Reddit at all. This is actually my first and probably gonna be my last time on Reddit, just to get 20 hot takes. I guess I'm gonna say agree. I don't really know. So, yeah. This one's quite controversial. Copying other photographers is the best way to get good. This industry peddles this fake, pure originality myth. Great writers are avid readers, great directors watch thousands of movies, so sit down, pick a high-end commercial frame you love, reverse engineer the lighting, and copy until you understand the math. Yes. Again, I couldn't have said it better myself here. I genuinely feel like, I got my shooting style from someone else. I feel like the person who I got my shooting style got it from someone else, and so on and so forth, I literally sit down and just watch photography YouTube videos, because that's probably one of the best ways I got, better. Like Smith Ali, I'll look at Smith Lee work. I'm like, his work is just insane. It's crazy. And his lighting is always on point. So I watched his work. We collaborated some. Well, not really collaborated some. So I watched his work, and we spoke. I got like the behind the scenes of like how he does his productions, and like I'm not saying I copied it, but a lot of like my work is influenced by his bold, heavy lighting and retouching standard. Another photographer is J. Allen Photography. He is really good with senior portraits, and he's really good with off-camera flash. And like again, my style got built from a little bit from his style too. So I feel like a lot of photographers are just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, all put together to make their own style. So yeah, I definitely agree with that one. Anyway, this has been a really, really, really long video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did filming it. And make sure you like and subscribe, hit that follow button down below. And I hope to see y'all in the next podcast or the next YouTube video. Toodles.